vem, seja da terra que eu vivi. Só sei é que eu não posso e eu não quero superar os tolos preconceitos que eu herdei. América Latina, latino-americano, América Latina, Latina, América Latina, latino-americano, América Latina, Latina.
Você não teve paciência de esperar. Você não teve paciência de esperar. Tudo é questão de acreditar, de ir mais longe, de enxergar, seguir em frente, caminhar, querer saber e se entregar. No mundo novo, nada passa desapercebido e não existe mais sabido, tá tudo aí. Olha a acomodação, olha o conforto e a paralisação, sinal amarelo é atenção. Não teve paciência de esperar. Você não teve paciência de esperar. Tudo é questão de acreditar, de ir mais longe, de enxergar, seguir em frente, caminhar, querer saber e se entregar. No mundo novo, nada passa desapercebido e não existe mais sabido, tá tudo aí. Olha a acomodação, olha o conforto e a paralisação, sinal amarelo é atenção, sinal amarelo é atenção.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Please take your seats. We're going to get started. Hello, hello. Good morning. Morning. Yay. How about that fog this morning, huh? That's pretty incredible. All right. Good morning. Thank you all for being here. It is with great joy that we welcome you to day 2 of the 2024 Annual Climate Action Palooza. I want to take a moment to thank all the amazing people who poured their energy and love into planning and preparing for this 3-day event. If you see any of these fantastic Climate Palooza warriors, they're wearing the royal blue shirts outside. Some of them are in here too. Please thank them because they've been working really, really hard and they're absolutely awesome. I also want to thank the Westlake College staff and our leadership as well for all that they have done to get us ready and get the campus ready for this event. This here is a picture of yesterday's student conference. We hosted 300 students from 5 high schools that came to share their answer to this one question: what would your neighborhood be like if you were in charge? Some of their amazing answers are displayed in the lobby and in the gallery, and I hope you can spend some time appreciating what these high school students created. Their work is incredibly courageous, inspiring, and innovative. Innovation is, of course, the theme of today's conference. Our program today is a collaboration with our Vice President of Administrative Services and Innovation, Dr. Brian Stokes, who recently launched this exciting initiative called the West Innovation Network program. Now, oftentimes when we talk about climate innovation, we tend to focus on new technologies. That's usually what people talk about when we bring up climate solutions and climate innovation. And that's for good reasons, right? We know that to avoid the worst consequences of climate change, we will have to develop, deploy, and scale up new technologies. That's particularly true when it comes to our need to effectively capture and sequester large amounts of carbon from Earth's atmosphere. Unfortunately, that will be indispensable for us at this point. We will need to do that. Even in the most optimistic scenario, in which we reduce emissions dramatically fast while concurrently increasing natural carbon sinks, if we want to meet the goal of staying well under the 2 degrees Celsius warming for this planet, we will need to develop new technology to suck up carbon from the atmosphere and trap it somewhere where it cannot warm the planet up. We will need to do that with about 10 gigatons of CO2 per year for several years. And to give you context, 10 gigatons of CO2 is about a quarter of our current global annual emissions. This is a lot of carbon. So you might be surprised to find out when you study our programs. Did you all get a program when you registered this morning? Yes? Very good. Thank you, Emily Otsuka, for designing those, and also Acton, our partners here, for designing these materials for us. So you're going to study this program. You're going to see that we have 2 keynote speakers, we have panels, and in the afternoon we have a number of exciting workshops for you. And you might be surprised to find out that we will not talk about carbon capture at all anymore today. In fact, although some of our presenters will talk about new technologies, particularly artificial intelligence, which you might be aware is both a source of serious environmental problems and an important tool in climate action, our focus today will not be on technological innovation per se. Today, we invite you to consider a broader definition of innovation. We ask you to think about innovative approaches to address problems that are not new at all and that continue to perpetuate the climate crisis. Today, you will not hear about complex and expensive technology that we, folks in this room, and the people in the classrooms in which we teach have little or no means to connect to. Instead, the presentations we curated for you today cover types of innovation that we can all actively participate in. Today, you will hear from educators, entrepreneurs, designers, scientists, storytellers, engineers, business and community leaders about the ways in which we're getting creative to just get the basic stuff done. Because in the end of the day, what we need to do immediately is to address the bulk of this climate crisis. It's the 75% of those gigatons of CO2 that I was talking about earlier. And for that, we need to build public support and political will to replace coal, oil, and natural gas with clean sources of energy immediately. We need to grow and eat food more like our grandparents used to. We need to consume responsibly and waste less. Oh, waste less. That was a hard one. We need to prepare our youth for what's ahead of them. It's not going to be pretty. And we need to train the workforce of the future and protect those who are most vulnerable and who are bearing the brunt of the climate crisis. This is not rocket surgery. And yet, year after year, we keep failing to get that done. Global emissions continue to rise year after year. And the question is why? We have known about this climate problem for 4 decades now. And we have had solutions for this problem for just about as long. So why have we not solved this problem? There's a famous saying that goes like this. Oh my gosh, am I nervous? Can you tell that I'm nervous? Okay, sorry about that. There's a famous saying that goes like this. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Today, we invite you to do what those high school students did and choose courage and innovation over climate insanity. We need innovation to get the basic stuff right. We also invite you to build community because none of us can do this alone. So if you can, please come back tomorrow for the 3rd day and last day of our Climate Palooza. Tomorrow we'll be here to celebrate collective power. There will be dancing, there will be a drum circle, we'll have good food, a Halloween costume swap, and other circular economy activities. Most importantly, tomorrow will be an opportunity to celebrate community, climate advocacy, and environmental justice. And with that, I would like to introduce you to Emily Kobar. Among the many other things that she does to advance community-based climate action, Emily teaches our environmental conservation courses here at West and supports the Climate Center in many ways. She's dedicated to traditional ecological knowledge and environmental justice. And it's my honor to welcome Emily to the podium for a land acknowledgement.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. So yes, my name is Emily Kobar, and I am an adjunct instructor here at West LA College, and I work also with the Climate Center here at West. I was invited to do this land acknowledgement, and I'm here to deliver it with the most respect to our indigenous neighbors, including the Gabardino Band of Mission Indians, Kizh Nation. First, as we dedicate 3 days to climate action, I want us to acknowledge and remember that climate action and sustainability, nature-based solutions may be new terms, but these are ancient practices. For millennial, Afro, and non-Afro indigenous communities used and continue to use their ancestral knowledge to develop a relationship with the land and Mother Earth to gather resources sustainably for survival. As an example, there's a small Mayan town in Guatemala, San Pedro La Laguna, where its residents, most Maya indigenous, has banned plastic and are using ancestral ways to live, from using traditional baskets, wrapping with banana leaves, and many more uses. May we use that as an example with our new plastic ban in California. This land acknowledgement is dedicated to the indigenous people that have tended this land for thousands of years and continue to tend the land today. The Los Angeles Basin historically had villages all over near the waterways, like the Bayona Creek and the LA River. Sacred villages were found in places we see every day, like Yangna in the east, which is now downtown Los Angeles, Puvunga in the south, which is now Long Beach, Saangna here in the west, near the Bayona wetlands and the Baldwin Hills, Topanga in the north, and mountains, where the indigenous name still exists today, Topanga. This land acknowledgement is dedicated to the land back movement for the first time ever. The Gabrielino Band of Mission Indians, Keech Nation, were recently in the last month given 500 acres of land in Harupa Valley to protect a 13,000-year-old native oak tree and tend the land that tends to them. May we use that example for more land back movements within the Los Angeles Basin. The native peoples of the Los Angeles Basin are still here and are members of state-recognized and local tribal governments, including Gabrielino Tongva San Gabriel Band of Mission Indians, Gabrielino Tongva Indians of California Tribal Council, and the Gabrielino Band of Mission Indians, Keech Nation. In this room, we have industry leaders, educators, and change makers. May this land acknowledgement be a call to action to support the mentioned caretakers by learning directly from them, collaborating with them, and amplifying their voices, especially in supporting them on the road on getting federally recognized. Thank you. Great. Now, let's welcome to the podium West Los Angeles College Vice President of Administrative Services and Innovation, Dr. Brian Stokes.
Good morning. Welcome. It's nice to see you all here today. So I have the distinct pleasure of introducing the college president. But before I do this, I want to spend a couple minutes talking to you about West Innovations Network. Think of it as WIN, but if you speak it, it's WIN. WIN, West Innovations College. That is the new project that West Los Angeles College is about to embark on with respect to innovations. So what does that mean? It means to us that we intend to have a very, very, very big impact on what happens in innovations at community colleges, not just here at West Los Angeles College, but across the nation and certainly in the state of California. What kind of impact do I expect West Los Angeles College's WIN program to have? First and foremost, we're looking at creating a brighter future for all of our students. All of our students. We want to enhance students' enterprise, enhance our communication with the community. We want to build our community. We want to build innovative projects that lead to student success. But more importantly, we want to create an environment where every student can have the true impact of where society is moving to. On a daily basis, the technology is changing what we do, how we do it. If you snap your fingers now, you can get AI to do just about anything for you. You want to find out, how to do regression analysis? Just type it in somewhere in Poe or any of the chat GPT, and you will get information until the cows come home. What we want to do here at West Los Angeles College is build an innovative program second to none. Now, this is not solely innovation as it relates to academics. It's innovation as it relates to academics, innovation as it relates to classrooms, innovation as it relates to student services programs, innovation as it relates to climate change. We want to create a holistic system for our students so that when they come here, they will be ready, they will undergo the kind of innovative programs that prepare them for the world beyond West Los Angeles College. It starts now, and it starts with all of you making and keeping the commitment to return to the Palooza next year, and the year after, and the year after that, to monitor and see how we will build this innovation program from the ground up. We can't do this without resources. I am not about to reach out to you and ask for resources today, but next week, next month, next year, in the coming weeks, months, and years, we will be reaching out because we cannot do this without resources. So, without further ado, the person, the man, the visionary who has put all of this in place is Dr. James Limbaugh. Dr. Limbaugh has spent quite some time giving a lot of attention to what climate change needs to be. Prior to this program, prior to this venture, prior to this heavy lift, no one in the state at the community college level was even thinking about climate change. So what we have here and what Dr. Limbaugh and Dr. Tavares is building is a climate change program, not just for West, not just for LACCD, not just for the state of California, but a national program at a community college level. And I couldn't be more pleased to be able to introduce to you the college president who has made this happen. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm somewhat humbled by that kind of introduction. And it also caused me to completely pitch all my prepared remarks. No, these are not prepared remarks. Just to say thank you. When the idea came about on a rainy Sunday morning in October of 2022, who would have thought that a little over 2 years later, there'd be a room full of dedicated climate individuals who want to do the right thing for our planet, who want to do the right thing for our students, and want to do the right thing for our community. And it is so heartening. It's so heartening for me to know that you all share in this journey. It's so good to see that we have West Los Angeles College faculty here who are teaching. We have approximately 30 faculty who've been involved in creating climate units within their courses so that if you're teaching psychology, for example, you'll also learn about climate anxiety. What we're trying to do at West is give students a well-rounded approach because we're trying to train community advocates and leaders and political individuals and activists, because we all know that climate change ultimately is now an issue of adaptation. We have to help urban communities learn how to adapt. And the way we look at that here is if we can help students understand that, then we have done our role as an educational institution. I was asked why we started this, and it's really very simple. If you can't drink the water, and you can't breathe the air, all this other stuff we're trying to do is irrelevant, right? And so I appreciate you all being part of this journey. I appreciate the fact that I've met so many folks that are engaged with this, that are committed with it, and I particularly appreciate Dr. Joe Tavares-Rager. I may have had an idea, but the most important thing I ever did was take 2 steps backward and say to Joe, here's a key to the office and here's the funding, go for it. So please join me before we get any farther in giving a sincere thank you to the true visionary, Joe Tavares-Rager. I also want to recognize we have a couple of high schools here. Oscar de la Hoya Animo Charter High School. Yay! And the Animo Venice Charter High School. I'd now like to begin bringing to the podium. We have some other very special guests who have taken time out of their schedules to come recognize the efforts of the institution. And please know that without the support of these individuals, we could not be doing some of the things that we're doing now. So I'd first like to call up a representative from Mayor Karen Bass's office, Steve Bowell, who is representing the Mayor's Office of Energy and Sustainability. Steve?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I only got 2 to 3 minutes, so I'll try to keep this really, really brief. But first, I want to give a big thank you to Joe for putting this event on, Dr. Limbaugh, Dr. Stokes. This is a great event, and it's really, really important. I think what's most important is all of you coming here. You know, our climate crisis is one of the greatest challenges of our time, and it requires us to really transform how we approach this city. Our mayor's mission is to keep Los Angeles on track to meet climate and sustainability goals. You know, our focus is making LA green, resilient, and zero carbon city. And you know, some of those goals is including 100% clean energy by 2035, reducing our emissions in our buildings. Emissions make up 40% of the city's emissions, actually. So making sure that our emissions are low, taking natural gas out of buildings is one of the priorities that we have for our city. Of course, water conservation, you know, making sure that when the rain falls, we capture all that local water. And our goal is to be 70% by 2035. Right now in LA, 1 in every 4 cars that are bought is electric. And we need to make sure that charging infrastructure is ready for that. You know, we're also leveraging federal funds to make sure that we're enhancing these goals. With IRA funding that is coming from the feds, we have secured hundreds of millions of dollars. We want to make sure that money is still rolling in from the federal and state government. We have such things as enhancing tree canopy. We have money to enhance water conservation. We have enhanced money to electrify our port, which will clean up the air in our port. And these grants are just a few examples of the progress that we have made to secure these millions of dollars from the feds and the state. Of course, so much work still needs to be done, and that's why you're all here today. You know, our city departments are coming together. They're working, and our mayor has started a climate cabinet to ensure that these plans are implemented. But at the heart of the city's initiatives is really to ensure that no one's left behind. We are committed to creating a sustainable future where LA's frontline communities build and have the capacity to thrive. Collectively, we recognize that climate change is not just an environmental issue, but a social one. Clean air, safe drinking water, and a healthy environment are fundamental human rights. Creating more green spaces and promoting active transportation options through equitable planning is a core of our mayor's platform. And of course, I'll be remiss if we didn't talk about the big event that's coming. You know, this goes beyond just the Dodgers and Yankees tonight. I actually wear in blue to support the Dodgers today. But of course, we have the Olympics coming in. And this is to be one of the most sustainable games that has ever been hosted. And one of the things that we're so advantaged in LA is that we're not building any new venues. And this has saved so much in our embodied carbon. You know, we remain the #1 solar city in the country, and we need to build upon this. So building on the legacy and on the goals that we have at the city is going to be a really important part. But of course, it is really you. You know, we as government cannot do this. You know, our mayor has this famous saying that we all must lock arms. And locking arms is an important slogan, not just in the fact of how we are working together, but it's also a force to collaborate, work together, and tackle an issue. And so it takes communities, it takes colleges, it takes students, and we all need to work together in order to solve this issue. So thank you very much. I hope you have a great day, and thank you again. Sure.
Now I'd like to invite to the podium Mr. Francisco Lopez. He is with Supervisor Holly Mitchell's office as the Environmental Justice Deputy. Francisco?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Francisco Lopez, and I am Supervisor Mitchell's Environmental Justice Deputy. Supervisor Mitchell represents the 2nd District and is very proud to work with West LA College, especially with President Limbaugh and Dr. Joe Tavares. Last month, we actually hosted a racial justice learning exchange where West LA College brought about 30 students. These students participated in a mock board of supervisors meeting, And they were proposed with an idea, a challenge of solving heat equity or providing solutions on how to tackle heat equity. The ideas that came out of it were innovative, creative, and very, very empowering to all of us. I was just talking to Dr. Limbaugh outside of this meeting that we're not done yet because there's still some action items left for their students. Just last month, the county passed Supervisor Mitchell's motion to implement the county's community forest management plan. One of these ideas from students were plant more trees in the public right of way, create some painting the street pavement and the roof tiles with anti-reflective coating paint. Director of Economic Opportunity was there at the meeting, and that kind of gave her an idea. It's like, hey, we could create a workforce development pipeline and train these individuals to paint roofs and with this anti-coating paint and anti-reflective paint. These are just ideas that come from the youth, and Supervisor Mitchell says, we are going to find the second district better than we found it, and with these climate justice leaders coming out of West LA College, the future, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. So thank you all for what you do, and it's my deep, deep privilege to present you all with this scroll on behalf of Supervisor Mitchell to Dr. Limbaugh and West LA College. In recognition of dedicated service to the affairs of the community and for the civic pride demonstrated by numerous contributions for the benefit of all the residents of Los Angeles County.
And finally, we're all members of a community, right? We happen to be, for the last 55 years, very proud members of the Culver City community. And we take the phrase community very seriously. For example, when you walk out, you may go out and see a sculpture in the middle of some barren ground. That barren ground is going to be turned into a microforest. We're growing 500 indigenous plants right now, and we'll be planting it as a community event in February, so y'all be sure and come back for that. But I'm so pleased that we have 3 representatives of the Culver City government here. We have Dan O'Brien and Freddie Pouza. Dan, Freddie, would y'all wave, stand, whatever? Who have been friends of the university or the college, I think ever since I got here, I met you all. But I would like to especially bring to the podium the mayor of Culver City, Ms. Yasmin Imani McMorrin.
Hey, West LA, how y'all doing? Good morning. My name is Yasmin Amani McMorrin. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the youngest serving council member. I am the only woman on our council, and I'm the first woman of color and first Black woman to serve Culver City as now council member and mayor. Thank you. It's an honor to be here in this amazing space. We love West LA. We love being community partners to the magic that is happening here. Grateful for all of the leadership, all of the volunteers, all of the folks that are doing the work to support a climate future that includes all of us, that is centering our young folks. So grateful that there are high school kiddos in this space. I wish my daughter was here, but anyway. I'm proud to have served on the Culver City Sustainability Committee since I've been on the council, and climate, I'll be brief, but climate is often thought of this thing that's just over there. But it is something that touches all of us. It is our housing policy. It is traffic, which is us, by the way, as we get around in our communities. It's always like, all these cars, it's us making the traffic. It is our traffic. It is our parks. It is how we plan our communities. It is not just this passive thing, so we must center it. We are in a climate crisis right now, not yesterday, not the day before that, today. And it is imperative that us as policymakers are centering these needs as urgent, because it is. I'm a mom. I think about my daughter and the quality of life that our little one, she's in high school, are gonna have. I think about her children, should she be lucky to have them. And it's important. So that's why I'm so proud to be here in this amazing space. I'm so proud and grateful that our assembly member, answered the call to support this amazing initiative. And I'll just briefly read this role, but please know that you have a partner and me moving forward, and we just need to continue to center these issues because they are all of us. It is about all of us, and we belong to one another. So, on behalf of my colleagues present here and those who are not, we want to present a recognition of outstanding and dedicated efforts in our region and a certificate of appreciation to West Los Angeles College. So on behalf of the City Council of the City of Culver City, it is my privilege to recognize you for your outstanding commitment to environmental sustainability and your dedication to fostering a greener future through the innovative Climate Palooza 2024. Through inspiring talks, interactive workshops, and networking opportunities, Climate Palooza 2024 provides a valuable platform for learning, collaboration, and inspiration. Your efforts contribute significantly to raising awareness about climate change and promoting innovative solutions. Climate Palooza 2024 is a transformative event that brings together individuals passionate about climate education and innovation. Your dedication to fostering a community committed to sustainability and addressing the climate crisis is commendable. I'm by myself and David today. Thank you so much.
We're pleased to have here, I was just informed, we're very excited, representative from United States Representative's Office, Sidney Kamlager Dove, and I'm going to be very embarrassed because I can't remember his name, but he'll tell you again, okay?
Hey everybody, my name is Jackson Benaroche. I am a field representative for Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager Dove, and it is my distinct honor to be here today with you all. It's so exciting to see a bright future ahead of us, helping to save the world and leaving it better off than we found it. So thank you all for being here first and foremost. And thank you to the West LA College staff for fostering an environment of change and growth and optimism, because there's so much in this world to be frightened about and worried about, but this gives me inspiration to our future. So I just want to let you all know that the Congresswoman is very much dedicated to climate justice, and it's these convenings that really spark some innovation, some connections with people, some information that you wouldn't otherwise get. The Congresswoman has only been in her position at the United States House of Representatives for one session. It's about to finish up. And in that time, we have had 2 annual events related to climate. We've brought the EPA, we've brought the Army Corps of Engineers, the Department of Agriculture, and the Department of Energy to speak to the leaders in this district to find out how we can best support their efforts. These funding convenings will hopefully in the next few years, we'll be announcing hundreds of millions of dollars in grants. We've already been able to announce tens of millions of dollars in community change grants and others from the EPA, and hopefully we will see you all there in this coming spring at our coming event. So with that, I will be very brief, and I want to present a certificate on behalf of the Office of Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager Dove to West LA College, and I'll read this for you right now. On behalf of California's 37th Congressional District, we thank you for your dedication to promoting environmental awareness and sustainability. Your work uplifts and inspires our community, encouraging the next generation to embrace a greener future. Your efforts truly make a difference in our district and beyond. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Okay, before I turn the mic back over to Joe, Here's public speaking lesson number 23. If you're going to invite somebody to the podium, make sure you know their name, okay? So I hope you all remember that and you roll with this, okay? With that, Joe, come on back up.
That was my bad. Sorry, Jackson. So it is now a great honor for me to introduce our first keynote speaker of the day, Professor Marcela Oliva. An expert in digital twin technology and social mobility planning, Marcela Oliva is a professor of architecture and environmental design at LA Trade Tech College and the founder of UCLA Extension's Transforming Community and Design for Social Justice courses. She's also a board member in the U.S. Green Building Council, USGBC. Previously, Oliva spent over a decade leading the development of the nation's largest digital twin virtualization, BIM/GIS system at the Los Angeles Community College District. She helped implement a $9 billion building program in alignment with national intelligence standards. Oliva has won awards including the Alpha Rookie Medal and the 2022 AIA LA Presidential Award for Educator of the Year. Recently, she spearheaded the mayor's workforce initiative for the Green New Deal, with LA Trade Tech Architecture Program being named Organization of the Year by the Los Angeles Business Journal in 2024. She also earned the California Governor's Award in Geospatial Technologies for work at NASA's Knowledge Management Division as the principal investigator for the Cyber Physical Systems National Science Foundation grant. Currently, she leads the AI and immersive technologies for smart city design and ecological restoration, blending cutting-edge digital tools with sustainable urban planning strategies to foster resilient and intelligent environments with community-driven design. Professor Marcela Oliva holds a bachelor's in architecture from USC and a master's in architecture and building science degree from Columbia University in New York and a Harvard GSD Education in Architecture Imagination Certificate. Please help me welcome with a warm round of applause, Professor Marcela Oliva. Okay, let's first make sure all the tools are working. They are.
Thank you all for being here. It's really an honor and to have all these youth with me together. We're gonna be co-creating for the next 15, 20 minutes. So let me just very quickly know a little bit about you. Could you kindly close your eyes? I just wanna know a little bit my audience. And let me know how many of you have used ChatGPT? Fabulous. Okay, keep closing your eyes so we don't have social pressure. How many of you have customized a ChatGPT? Thank you, keep closing it. And one last question. How many of you guys use ChatGPT daily? Okay, wonderful. So just so you know, you can open your eyes and we can keep going. It was very informative to me, and I'm just gonna try to cater this conversation to find it informative. I've been thinking about this for 40 years, right? Spatial intelligence. But most important, how it's going to create social mobility. And most important, how we're going to protect our planet. And that is what my talk is all about. This, you probably do not know, but you've been probably using artificial intelligence for a long time. And I want you to all remember that it's called human regenerative artificial intelligence. So this is, I'm gonna tell you about the bad, the good, and the promise. And I could have not had better introduction from the President, Vice President, and Dr. Joe Tavares, but to say that we have to create systems of collaboration. The reality is too complex, but we do need to focus on some of the things that we must pay attention. The bad. Yeah, there's a lot of bad things. It's just like any other technology. It's nothing new. A knife can cut beautiful meat, but it can also kill somebody. Just look at any technology. As long as we're aware of it, and it's very important for us to know how we can combat the bad things about it. By the way, I train a ChatGPT. It's called the Eco Strategist. I have like about 10 workers in ChatGPT, but it took me like 100 hours to create. So a lot of the images are made by ChatGPT, but it took me a long time to train my workforce in an AI basis. So energy, yeah, it's terrible, right? 7% by the year 2030, creating a lot of carbon dioxide. So we gotta move. As you guys saw it, I'm also part of the USGBC Green Building Council. We gotta make all these data centers use renewable energy. Yes, this is actually really bad, the tale of two cities. We have the potential in marginalized neighborhoods to utilize 40% of their roofs to convert it into solar, but unfortunately only 5% of them are utilized because they don't have the resources, they don't know about it, and these are the things that we're working very close with the mayor to combat the bias. That is the truth. All of the platforms, they have a bias for ethnicity, for color, for race, for background, and now these are facts, and I did check all of my facts on this one. They're very resource intensive. All the minerals that we got to extract from the earth, they pollute our soil, they pollute our water. They use water that could be going into our household. And I will make all these available to all of you guys, and I will open a deck on Google, and all of you guys can add to it. So it will be a collective and see what we can do in 1 year. So I will share this collective deck so you guys can add articles. You're going to see an example that I work with some West LA students to create it. So yes, reliance on AI. Interesting enough, this morning, I barely made it here because my GPS got disconnected. And I said, where is my Thomas Brothers map, right? Over-reliance. How many people don't even check? They use AI and they don't even check it. But I do have to tell you that in my classroom, which I'm going to talk about it in the promise, I never seen students more engaged by using AI. But I'll tell you more about it. We're on the bad, so let's keep looking at all the bad. Ethical privacy. How many of you guys like to have a drone in your backyard? What? I don't care if it's for climate change, right? So we got to be careful about this. Inequalities. That's the other thing that I was telling you. How many cities in the world don't even have access to internet, right? So this is the social justice part of it. A lot of people don't understand what does climate change has to do with social justice. Well, these marginalized communities are the ones that are going to be and are already now the most affected by these realities. Greenwashing. So many people, you can twist data, you can twist maps, and it's like, I'm doing X, Y, and Z, and not really, right? So how are we going to measure all of these? So a lot of, what does it mean, the green jobs? What are green jobs? Everything, apart of the Department of Labor, anything you do is a green job. We got to rethink the way we design, build, maintain, operate, and create that circular economy. Now, this is really wonderful. So this is by a student here, Ali Sarame from West LA College, and he's going to tell us a little bit about.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ali Zarnejad. As some of you may have noticed, there have been a lot of social media apps mentioned in news headlines in the past years. Under-regulation of software in America has put these apps under fire. Under-regulation of software has allowed the companies that own these apps to misuse and exploit the data of their users. One example of this would be TikTok, which has...
So we got to regulate it. We got to use AI to regulate AI, right? It's just moving too fast. It's just moving too fast. But we have certain basics. We can just go by certain basics of how do we use that technology. But let me tell you the good. The good is that I've been part of multiple committees at a national and international level. All these software, the AI is just the culmination. They were not talking to each other. For the very first time, the architecture engineering software is talking to the game engine. Yes, game engine. Yes, I love that yesterday you had, how do these kids are going to visualize their future, and not only visualize, but actually implement it and create it, and how we're gonna collaborate it. And that's what I'm gonna talk about, the promise and the good. We do need to use AI. I mean, you're gonna say like, this is a reality. I mean, we are in a crisis now. Food, shelter, mental health, access to green spaces, marginalized community have average half a parking lot, where upper class people in cities have an entire garage. That's the disparity between marginalized areas and poverty areas. High school dropouts, economic inequality, just name it. Well, let me tell you something. This makes me very sad, but also makes me very happy to know we have the tools. Now we have the tools to combat all of these. Why is it important? For the very first time, you can start making real-time decisions. Do I want to cover a roof? Do I want to plant a tree? Do I want to support a mural? How are you going to make these decisions? Well, yes, using digital twins, using AI. I'm going to tell you more about it. So the good thing about AI, and many of you guys know, we can know where tornadoes are coming. Mexico City now has, like, very quickly, you can know, like, now they're increasing the time that you know that an earthquake is going to come, because you have what you're going to hear a lot about it, which is called the Internet of Things. So it's not only AI, but you have all these immense of tools that before were not talking to each other, but now they're talking to each other. So the city can become alive. You can do smart grids, right? Like, where do we want to have our generators? Where do we want to save electricity? Where we want to invest on renewable energies? Agriculture, you know, 60% of our food goes to the trash. Like, when I eat a pear from Peru, I feel so guilty. What? How many pears we wasted on the way to here? Circular economy, how many artists are working with recycled plastic? Why don't we have somewhere where they can actually connect the recycling with the creation? Transportation, we all know that. This is kind of easy, everybody, automatic. And climate adaptation, now with urban planning. Now you can start designing, do we have a parking lot here? Do we want to have an open space? Do we want to have a shopping mall? People, places, projects. Behaviors, this is very important, and this is a little bit about privacy, but very easy in schools you can see when a child is in conflict. Reducing industrial, scaling its solutions, you can see where, especially when you have so many policies, how do we make decisions real time? So the promise. And this is going to show a little bit what I've been doing in the classroom, and for the 9 community colleges for 10 years, I work for the building program. And to this day, we have the largest digital twin. How many of you guys play video games? Minecraft, SimCity. So do you know what I tell people? I'm creating Minecraft for real, right? SimCity for real. And the good news is that we are regulating all over the world, tons of regulations. The part is like, how are we going to implement them and make sure that they happen? So the very good news, we have the Sustainable Development Goals, and we all know that if we talk about hunger, we got to talk about food. If we talk about food, we got to talk about water. We talk about water, we got to talk about energy. And that's why this is so complex. And that's why utilizing models, and this is a precedent for the president. This was invented by Buckminster Fuller, the tensegrity model for humanity. When you look at a community, you got to look at education, water, energy, and you got to create, and this is found in nature, the Greeks call it the God particle. Even we use it at NASA for the robots, right, and for the landers there. So we need to start looking at neighborhoods, our 15-minute walk neighborhoods, where we actually need to integrate all of them. And my dear president, this is for you. We'll get a picture at the end. And so, and this is what is so important, the Ikagi. What are you good at? Well, you can make money with it, but what do the world needs from you? So you gotta put the person, the community, your city, the state, and the world, and AI has fabulous tools to do that. And I just met this lady. She is the godmother of AI. And look what she's saying. Everybody should be building worlds, right? Because why worlds? And this is interdisciplinary, interdepartmental, interagency, because we all gotta look at our neighborhoods, our city, and do what I call project-based curriculum, but the project is our community. That's why I joined the community colleges as an immigrant. I said, like, that are so cool. We gotta fix our communities around us. Little did I know, 30 years ago, we were just beginning to do all these implementations. But the reason she's saying that, because AI is gonna allow you to simulate. It's gonna allow you to predict. And those, that's what you guys did yesterday. So it's no longer a sticky note on a poster, right, about how you want your neighborhood. Design your neighborhood. Design is a human right. Make our communities become the scientists, the engineers, the urban planners, the designers. So we don't want to have spaces like that. I'm working with Holly Mitchell's office, and we actually have a project called Beautification, right? How do we there's so much talent in LA. Every piece of our neighborhood could look beautiful. So what I'm doing in my classroom, we just work an international award. Very quickly, we're studying the movement of bees. What is the mathematical? Where will be the best place to put canopies? And that is an algorithm parametric, right? So then the student, all of a sudden, they love math. Why? Because they see the connection between biology, chemistry, climate change. It's that concept that knowledge is integrated. See, it used to be that as a worker, how strong you are. As a worker, how much knowledge you have. With the internet, knowledge is like, what is now the most important thing? Human intelligence. And that is going to be a long way before anything can do how a human thinks, how human creates, how human has the passion. But with these technologies, now you can see, oh, that's why I need to know math. Oh, that's why I need to know biology. That's why it's called liberal arts, because it liberates you. Look how wonderful. So this student created these beautiful canopies based on a hummingbird movement. But this is what sometimes stops us. It's like, when we're talking about math, about climate change, it's all a mathematical equation at the end. But it's a spatial intelligence equation. We did this with the governor and Caltrans in 7 weeks. The community design, and now we're actually using artificial intelligence to look at the quality of the soil. Let me see, how am I doing on time? Oops, doesn't show, but anyway. And now the nice thing is that this park now, you can have an avatar. You can have an avatar, and you can go in there, you can meet people in there, you can see how your plants are doing, virtually, physically, and then for the very first time, the virtual affects reality, and the reality affects the virtual, right? That is the metaverse. Look at this, how wonderful. Frank Lloyd Wright did this long time ago. You create the pattern of a plant, you do the parametric design, what is the first regulation, and then looking at some visualization. And then people are going to say, but why so fast? Why? In the last 200 years, we have augmented 8 billion people to the planet. We got to heal them. We got to feed them. We got to help them participate. How we're going to do that? We need these tools. Nobody can do this complexity without these tools. And more than anything, have them engage. With the mayor's office, very quickly, retrofitting a jail, we have, in 1 weekend, we had architects, designers, community members, zero knowledge on architecture. And I have to applaud my new faculty, Arthur, because he really is so much better on this. And you can see how very quickly, these are real models that could get built. They're not animated, they're scientific, they're to scale, right? Or visualizing what will be a center for the community. And the community were designers. They were not just, watchers. We also created very quickly some logos. We're going to have our 100-year anniversary and all the trades. So I actually fed with, this took me a long time because I gave the ChatGPT all the artists, all the architects that know Art Nouveau. So we wanted to create some mobile structures. We wanted to use all the trades, including the counselors. But how cool are these, right? Now we're going to paint them by hand. Now we're going to program it. Then we're going to use a robot to relieve it. Anyway, so it just created a lot of innovation. And I'm sure you recognize this, West Los Angeles. So where we're going to move, where we're going to say, show me where the labs are. Show me what pipe it broke. Show me what garden can be retrofitted. Show me the sociology teacher that can come and talk about sustainability, connected people, project places. For the last 10 years, I would say, we've been creating databases, spatial database. Now we need to connect them. And here's some of the things. For 10 years, we developed all these interactivity for the 9 community colleges and all the satellites. So this is another thing. So imagine now, right? This company, you can see like this morning, Vienna, every city all over the world, Singapore, everybody's developing the smart cities. What is the smart cities? I'm hoping that what I'm sharing with you today, you can begin to see the potential and the connection to education. Like if you're going to divert the river, how is that going to affect agriculture? if you're going to if you're going to put a factory, how is going to affect the earth and the soil? How is that going to affect, like literally with these tools, you can say, if you put 5 biosoils, how many of you guys know what a biosoil is? Raise your hand. Okay, great, not too many. Biosoil, basically you create a ditch on the ground, right? So when it rains, it sits there, but you gotta be careful. You don't wanna put that next to a foundation, right? But basically just collecting water. How much water we can collect that it doesn't have to go all polluted into our ocean? So now with these tools, you can say, make 10 biosoils here, make 5 trees here, educate 20 people, bring that artist. And you can see with that we can start seeing our planet, like Buckminster Fuller said, operating manual for the planet Earth. I have this amazing book written by one of our alumni called Terrestrial Architecture. This is a reality. A lot of people go nature, nature, nature. A lot of people go buildings by infrastructure. The city, every city has it. But the reality, they both exist. And what we need to create is a coexistence. We're not going to demolish all the buildings, right? So how can we retrofit them? How we can connect it to other environments? So let's create one world together. And I would like to give this book, I am so honored, to Dr. Joe Tavares. Thank you so much for this invitation. I worked really hard for it this morning. I would like to have 1 minute for answers. Do I have 1 minute, 2 minutes? And thank you so much. This is for you. Questions, answers, problems, comments? Yes. Such a problem. Absolutely. And that's a perfect example. I always tell the homeless is not only give them homes, you gotta make them feel valuable, make them feel they're part of the workforce. So my answer is there's all these new platforms where you can see policies, funding, available land, climate change regulations. That's why we need AI. Who can compute so much? But who's gonna fed the AI? And the good news, but this is what is kind of scary, for every job that is lost because of robots, technology, and AI, guess what? There's 5 new ones, but nobody knows how to train them. But that's by Harvard, Deloitte, McKinsey, like the data I'm telling you is real. So yes, we need to create those alignments and that kind of critical thinking.
That was such a great presentation. Thank you so much. We're from the same school and we've been friends for a long time. But one of the things that concerns me is what we are doing for young children. Because, a lot of the parents are putting the tablets and the cell phones in front of the children. Their eyes are getting destroyed very young. And so we need to be able to use these tools in a way that is healthy for the young children. Sometimes it's too overwhelming for them to have all this information. The other thing that I wanted to comment is how we are going to train our community colleges, our students, our faculty, our classified, developing a model that where people can get the training for AI so that we're with what is happening. It's sad when we are lagging behind industry, when we are the educators and people come to us trusting us to prepare them for the new jobs. So we definitely need to get LACCD to get this training for the faculty and the students and the staff. Every employee, needs to do the AI, and it's accessible to all.
I thought a lot. I'm so happy you asked those questions because I thought a lot about those two. Number one, for the young children, do you guys know that, I don't know if it passed or is very close to, like in London and Britain, all the video games that have to do with war and killing are prohibited. That's one policy. But number two, I think what we need to do are projects for the youth that matter. So for example, this is a trifold knot, a mathematical equation made in 3D printing. So we gotta do also physical. You gotta build with your hands, and that's what disconnects people from the computer only. That you also do physicality. So, and I think this is kind of connected with the. My dream will be that faculty has like a innovation hub or an eco center where you try technology, you try robots, and just or somebody comes and like, oh, I need this for my community. Okay, let's bring the team and actually start creating project-based learning where you can play with the technology and then, oh, this works really good. Let's bring it to the formal education. So some kind of a parallel system of an eco hub. You've seen a lot in Europe, in the Netherlands. I was just in Copenhagen. It was called the Broken World. And one of the things is creating these eco hub centers that they're going all over the world. But it's not just creating for the sake of creating. Why don't you just paint a fence? I mean, just look at our neighborhoods. This is what I tell everybody. How many neighborhoods need so much love, just landscape, just painting, murals. Look at all the amazing talent we have. So that's my answer to those two things.
Over here. Over here.
Oh, sorry.
If there's a creation of 5 to 1 in terms of jobs for AI, at what pace do we need to educate? Because if the technology itself is developing at such a pace, how are we to stay up with it? In terms of education itself,
yes,
at what pace are we going to have to move if the technology is developing so quickly?
That's exactly. So I think that's why we need centers of innovation and creativity, because many times with my students, if I waited for me to know the software, for me to be the Socratic know-it-all, I will never be able to teach. So what I offer to my students, this is the way I think, this is the way my experience, and let's try it together. So the teacher has to change. We need to be co-creators. That's my answer. So we can be learning with them. And our experience is that as educators, we have our experience, and that's what we bring to them, because the educator is gonna make sense out of the chaos. You have a problem, you say, this is how we're gonna try it, but I'm part of your team. I'm co-creating with you.
Transportation makes up about half of the greenhouse gases in California. Have you considered any programs to train the AI on your transportation, commuter, staff, faculty, what have you, parking, and work together as sort of a consortium to address transportation emissions here at the college?
Yes, please talk to our new faculty, Arthur Modeng. He just cracked a code on transportation and mobility. There is a way to using AI to predict all of that and make it efficient and make it friendly for the user, definitely. And I think that I want to also share that the United States Green Building Council is just beginning to create the largest training hub. So if you want to say, oh, I want to answer to your question too, I want to learn A, B, and C. That's why LinkedIn, lynda.com was purchased by LinkedIn. Because now you say, oh, you know, you're excellent for A, B, and C, but you got to learn X and Y, right? So that's why education, instead of learn, so you can solve a problem, is going to say, this is a problem, what do you need to learn? Do you see the paradigm shift? And I'm not saying the existing system has to collapse. I think it's wonderful. Look at all the wonderful things we have done in the planet too. But now we need to have a parallel system, right? That you train the people given the problem. You got to build a fence, you got to know the area, you got to know the materials. So I think that reverse of learning has to happen today.
I'm very interested, in how you mentioned that we're going to use renewable energy for the data centers, because right now the demand is growing exponentially. And it seems like the grid is struggling to put on all the new renewable energy. There's a backlog. And it seems like a lot of the tech giants are choosing nuclear. So I was wondering what your thoughts were about all that.
Whew, that's a super dense question.
Sorry.
No. And I'm trying to say, yes, it was the grid. This is what happens. That's why I'm telling you this book is so amazing. We never design our cities for AI. We never designed the entire grid to become renewable. So it wasn't designed for that. Right? So once you don't design something to retrofit it, it just doesn't have the width. But I do know of a lot of new initiatives, and I also know about a lot of local storage, and I know a lot of policies. That's why I was telling you the policy is going to be important, because what can work in a certain city neighborhood might not work for another one where you're so close to a mining site. It might work here because you're part in the desert. So that's why policies, more and more, is going to be very site specific. Like, and I think young people are really good. You are able to zoom in and zoom out, zoom in and zoom out. And that's kind of in a big picture my answer to that. Kind of. I said yes. What? I definitely want to talk to you about transportation.
Thank you so much. I loved your presentation, really spoke to me because it's totally what I do in my classroom. And I'm proud to say I have 10 projects on the wall that speak of that. The project is called Leadership in a Local Setting. And for me, the key is partnerships. So my students have to actually speak to the people in their community, evaluate a problem, and as a group, they have to solve it using NASA technology. So the SDG, the Sustainable Development Goal number 17, is partnerships.
Yes.
My issue is making my students feel a sense of belonging.
Exactly.
And to me, that is solved through partnerships and forming those friendships and giving them that purpose in life to want to go change something. I want to know how AI can help with partnerships because honestly, there's so much out there and so many different organizations, and I was wondering if AI could.
Yes.
I want your views on that.
Yes, and we're developing I know a few platforms. First of all, collective consciousness. You know, people call it singularity. But what you just said, and also the people before me, it was almost like we had planets. Like, it couldn't be more in alignment. That's what I don't know if you're beginning to experience that. Also, the people I met today, this morning, I really wanted to talk to these people. They happen to be here. So I think there's this kind of collective energy in the planet. Number two, one of the things we're developing, and I know multiple places, I'll be happy to show you, but we are also developing, you say, this is a project, and then you will be able to say, what is your major? What do you teach? Okay. Okay, I just wanted to make it specific. So let's say that you're writing about water, right? And you're writing about in the local community how water is affecting. So what this platform using AI is going to be able to tell you who are the nonprofits. And this is where I hope LACCC will get. Who are other faculty members that their passion, because that's why I show you the Akagi. We got to work on our passion. Even for health, it's very important to be working on our passion and a little bit what they will pay you for and a little bit what the planet needs. But with these platforms, you'll be able to find the people, the places, the projects, and the partnerships. I'm also creating a lot of mind maps because now you can start saying, so in a 1 mile radius, it will show you where are the nonprofits, where are the grants, where are the spaces. So then the faculty can focus on the project and be a co-creator with the student. Thank you, all of you. Thank you.
Hi, wasn't this great? Future is bright. Thank you, Marcela. Thank you so much. This was very informative, but also just inspiring to see an educator like many of you doing this amazing work that we're doing together in these spaces. So the next person that we're going to invite to the stage to speak to us is Brentley Fulton, Dr. Brentley Fulton. Brentley is a materials chemist with a strong focus on entrepreneurship and sustainable business design. As the founder and chief executive officer of Lamar Inc., established in April of 2018, he's spearheading the development of sustainable supply chain solutions. Previously, Fulton served as an entrepreneur in residence at Rasmus Capital from November 2020 and as a lecturer in chemistry at the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA. There, he taught pre-med STEM students and supervised teaching and learning assistants.
A native of Pontiac, Michigan, an underprivileged community outside Detroit, Fulton earned his degree in chemistry from Morehouse College. He now resides in LA. So please welcome to the podium Dr. Bentley Fulton.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you, Joe, for that welcome introduction and for West LA College for having me here today. My talk today is really around the intersection of climate change and supply chains. And I wanted to kind of walk you all through my background. And I know supply chain seems so far out there because I'm classically trained as a chemist. And I want to walk you a bit through my journey from how I got there to a little bit around how I got here today. I want to start with this philosophical question: who am I? And this is a question I ask myself. This is a question that everyone in the room, I think you should stop from time to time and just ask yourself, this question. Well, when I think today, and I feel really proud about this. I'm Dr. Brantley Fulton. I'm CEO and co-founder at Lamar. There are these other accolades and things that I've done, but it took a journey and it took challenges and overcoming those and trials and tribulations to actually get there. But when I think of who I am, first and foremost, I'm a material scientist. I first care about doing good science. I hope that if nothing else reaches you at all today, that you can take that away from who I am. Is I'm a person that cares about our climate. I care about the material world around us. And as a material scientist, I'm fascinated with stuff, right? It's like if you look in the room around us, there's just stuff everywhere, from the chairs to this floor. The flowers, and they're all made, right, from different materials. And part of what we do as material scientists, we think about stuff, and then we think about how to manipulate these characteristics and features or colors or composition to positively impact our world. And so the coolest thing about being a chemist is it's like being an artist, right? Because every single day, a new molecule is made. So that means that every time that a scientist steps to the bench top, they have the opportunity to take something that was newly created or newly unlocked and then continue, down the pathway in terms of creation. And so that I think is really cool. And that's what a lot of my inspiration for wanting to be a scientist or a chemist really started with. And the other side, is I'm a businessman. As much as I have a passion for science, I also have a passion for business because the way to create better opportunities for people, it requires the resources, but it requires the infrastructure, and it requires a business world around us that cares about us, right? And so the only way to entrust and make sure that our world and our futures are protected are to actually put yourself, in that place. And we created our company Lamar, which is a real-time track and trace solution provider. So we make these tracking devices. Can someone actually go inside of my bag? I have a device in my bag actually that I want to kind of pass around the room a bit. It's in it's like the top zipper. There's probably some sunglasses at the top. And so what's being passed around is one of our, tracking devices, and I will get into a bit more of why this is important. But one of the cool things for me is actually seeing you all working together and passing it around, because I view that as a supply chain. Where am I from? It's not only who am I, but where did I come from, right? How did I get here? As Joe had mentioned, I was born in Pontiac, Michigan. I don't know if any of you have heard of Pontiac. It's not very far. It's not very far from Detroit. I saw some hands in the back, but that's my birthplace. I won't sugarcoat it. It was not a nice neighborhood that I grew up in, and so you have to keep your head on a swivel in my neighborhood. You have to know where to go, where not to go, who to say the right things to, whose toes to not step on, because it literally could change your day based on getting in the wrong environment or being in the wrong environment. After I left Pontiac, I went on to go down to Atlanta to Morehouse College, and shout out to my alma mater. It's actually homecoming weekend down in Atlanta, and that experience, it really changed me a lot. It fostered me by, I would say, it fostered a lot of my curiosity. I majored in chemistry. I have a minor in mathematics, and I love the chemistry, the math sometimes, but not all the time. I don't know if anyone has gotten. I know there are some students in the crowd, and stick with the math definitely. But I was taking this class, and it was called set theory. And I don't know if anyone's ever taken this class, but it's almost like philosophy. Like, it doesn't actually use numbers. It's like, a math class is hard when you have to write sentences like with words. It was like, where's the equation? And the professor's like, oh no, this isn't equation based. Like, you have to write through the problems. And that was like one of the more challenging courses. But I appreciate what I learned at Morehouse College. And then I went all the way to what seemed like the other side of the world, the University of Oregon, which is where I got my master's and PhD as a materials chemist. And shout out to the University of Oregon and my alma mater there. But one of the things and why that was important for me is, all these different places and touch points, I learned something really different there. But at the end of the day, they all make up who I am today. And I try to use a little bit from each of those places and each of those opportunities to really help guide me and inform, my decision making. And so, one of the questions, why chemistry, right? I'll tell you all a story, and I know that there's a few high schools in the room, and maybe this might be specifically, targeted at you. And this is like one of my vulnerable moments, but I want to show you all kind of like the triumph in this. So it's the end of the semester, going into the holiday break, and I'm in my chemistry class, and I get a C. I think it was like a C plus. And this is like my first ever C in life. It's like I pretty much was a AB student. I thought I was a good student. I thought I was relatively smart. I meet with my teacher at the end of the semester. Her name is Miss D. Simone, and I want to thank Miss D. Simone. She basically looked at me, and I went to an all boys Catholic high school, so she was actually really, she was kind of stern. She looked at me directly and she said, Brantley, you don't know this shit. And and at that time, right, and today is funny, but you got to imagine, right, in this moment, my heart sank, and I knew that she was right, but I didn't know what to do, and that's where I say, the vulnerability comes in. And I just remember her giving me 3 of her personal textbooks. And she said, Brantley, don't come back here next semester after the holidays until you know this. And I remember over that break just going through problems and wanting to know it and wanting to do better. But the part of that was that I had this teacher who had a belief in me. She saw something in me at that time that maybe I didn't even, see in myself. But it's so important that, to reinforce each other and to have those leaders in our lives that help us achieve and help us get to that next level. And, I went from getting that C plus to now I stand before you as a PhD chemist. So there had to have been something right about that moment that changed me. And little did I know is that she made a beast. I felt that for that time leading up to that time, I felt that I was so safe. I had been playing it so safe, but now I was at this ultimate low where for the first time in my life, maybe I feel like I felt free. Like I felt like I could breathe a sigh of relief because I had failed. And so now it's like, oh, it was so like relieving because everything else was up from there. So I could actually try things out. I could test things out. And I think that's what actually led to a lot of my experimental curiosity. And one of the great things about chemistry are the colors and shapes. I just recently, I don't know if anyone in the room seen the Pharrell movie recently? He talks about like the synesthesia, right, where it's like seeing sounds. I felt like early on, as a chemist, I felt like I had at least a little bit of that or some of that where the shapes and colors really drew me to chemistry. I had no idea that there would be so much math down the road. I had no idea that there would be these long, slogged lab hours, when I got to graduate school. And then the other thing that is kind of counterintuitive is that scientists do so much writing. Not only do you have to be good at math or good at your science, but then when you want to go and communicate that, you also have to be a good writer. And I had no idea about any of those things. I was just really drawn in by the colors and shapes and, my curiosity around manipulating the material world around me. But that's really what kind of pulled me in was the colors and shapes. And then, I ultimately became an aqueous chemist. And so here's actually, kind of one of my first author papers from during my time when I was in graduate school. And we actually got a patent out of this work. It's a really neat story because there's a current graduate student who's starting a company based off of this work, which is actually really neat. But we were able to take the kind of that physical world around us, and we took aluminum minerals, which are naturally occurring, and we were able to show that we were able to selectively isolate these clusters. And so we can think of this as like some bulk rock structure. So this is like a mineral gibbsite. So that's a naturally occurring aluminum mineral. We can then acidify it. This process happens when acid rain comes down, for instance, which leaches particles that then, flow into our marine waters. And then we were able to selectively isolate these cluster species. And with this, we were able to make what we call like thin films, which become the precursor to semiconductors. And little did I know that led to a lot of what I'm doing today. And as that device is being passed around, you can think of that as a semiconductor. But this work was some of the influence behind a little bit of what I do today. And so, I think about it and I think about this pathway, and I don't know, it was something inside of me to go, from this experimental highway, meaning, my actual time at the benchtop in the laboratory to real ones. And we do a lot of work now in supply chains, and we think about these interconnected systems. And what really, I think fascinates us today, and when we think about, supply chains, they're all around us, right? The world is a supply chain. So, as I mentioned earlier, think about the things that you have on, think about the things that you see. even in this room, there's one commonality with every item. At some point, right, it probably was shipped in a box. That the origin point of, all these products, they all started in a box. They left some manufacturer, and then they, arrive at our doorstep. Why this is important for us, and I spend a lot more time, with my day now down at the ports in San Pedro, in Long Beach. Over 40% of all commerce that comes into the U.S. reaches the U.S. through the port of Long Beach and the port of L.A. 40%. That's a astronomical number. Why that's important for all of us in the room, that's our backyard. But even more importantly, that means that we have the power and the ability to better understand the goods that are coming in, and how can we actually implement better supply chain solutions around those that actually impact our economy and our climate for the better. And so with that being said, we actually really can control a lot of climate change, because climate change is really about two things. It's about the movement of people and the movement of goods. And we're in the epicenter of the movement of goods. And so, how do goods move? There's three kind of main traditional modes. There's ground transportation. You think of your FedEx truck, UPS truck. There are air carriers. We have some work with one of the kind of leading aerospace companies. I'll mention them by name because they're in a lot of hot water right now, which is Boeing. And then the other way are, through large cargo shipping containers. These are how really large manufacturing products are shipped, and or if you think of like how cars get around the world, a lot of times they'll ship directly from port transportation sites on tankers. But yes, this idea around the movement of goods is one that we just fell in love with, because it really relates to everything that us as humans touch. And in particular, one of our greatest motivations, and Marcella touched on this a little bit earlier, is food sustainability. So this is kind of, along with the port, this was another number that just jumped out at us when we were building our business, and it was like, how can this even be? When you think about this in your mind, that over $700 billion is lost to food waste annually. And this is preventable. Here in America, there are certain regions where we have food surpluses. And we know in other parts of the world exist food deserts. And so one of the things that we began to think about is, how can supply chains actually get those food, how can supply chains actually help move food from those surplus areas to those food desert regions? And a lot of our work today, and with our current tracking device, is really designed to track and trace products wherever they go all over the world, but with the goal that we'll be able to cut down and reduce waste by catching failures such as temperature, catching route deviations where a product is supposed to be headed to this grocery store, but it was taken to another. And so this kind of problem is something that we all can impact and help solve, but it takes a collaboration, it takes a togetherness, right? It's like no one company, no one person is going to solve the $700 billion problem that is food waste. But if we collectively come together and I think use more what I like to call big brain ideas, we can solve this challenge. And, in terms of actual products and, what we provide AI-enabled tracking, right? And so not only can we, for instance, detect when a failure happens, we now are beginning to feed our system AI models that allow it to be predictive and preventative. So, how can you get to spoilage in food before it happens? That's a part of that will allow us to be more sustainable, and that's a way for us to greatly reduce that waste. In the pharmaceutical industry, I'll tell this story because this is, kind of another one of triumph. So, it's the beginning of 2020. It's maybe January or so. Our company at this time is about 18 months old, right? End of 19, you make this really ambitious, business plan. Like, oh, we're going to do X, Y, Z next year. I think we'll be able to lock in these customers. We're going to do millions of dollars in revenue, right? February of 2020 rolls around, and I think, as most of you know, boom, it's the pandemic. I don't care what your business plan was or your business strategy, there is no way to account for that in your game plan when a global pandemic breaks out. Especially with a company as young as ours, because our company was only 18 months old or so, at that time. And so around that time and right before that, we were talking to food manufacturers, and most of them actually were like in the dairy industry. Does anyone, I'll give them a shameless plug because I still eat their products and have a lot of friends there. Does anyone know Tillamook dairy? Anyone eat Tillamook ice cream or any of their products? Really, really good, right? Like, I'm like one of the, I like that Marionberry one and the, it's an Oregon company, so I have some friends there. But at the time, they were giving us a set of requirements for what they needed to be able to track and trace their dairy products. So it was everything from, their yogurt and ice cream, their cheeses, because they're all temperature sensitive, right? They'll spoil if they're not properly tracked. That relationship fell through. We were getting ready to fly out there, and actually it was the week that all the planes started to get grounded, like during COVID, was like the same week that we were supposed to go there. But then this sort of serendipity moment kind of kicks in. I'm sitting with my co-founder, and he and I are just, we're scratching our heads. We don't know where the company's direction is going to go now. It's like it's COVID. We're inside. We can't go out and talk to customers. If we're talking to an investor, it's like over a Zoom call, which I don't know if any of you have ever done this, but, try asking someone for money over Zoom. Like, it gets awkward, right? We successfully did do a raise during that time, but it was really hard and, really awkward. But at the same time, we were sitting there and we start to hear about, this vaccine is coming. And slowly, more and more information comes out, and it's like, well, this vaccine has a temperature dependence, and it needs to be kept cold at this temperature. And we had this eureka moment, literally for the previous 6 months when we were talking to the dairy company and what their requirements were. These same requirements were starting to come up for the COVID-19 vaccine. And so we, at this time, we wrote a grant because we thought that there were two things. One was, well, who's going to make this solution? But what we saw as the harder issue and the harder problem, right, it's like, how do you actually distribute this all around the world? And so that became the supply chain issue. I'm a scientist and a good one. I have all the faith that a scientist can go in the laboratory and make a vaccine. But now this thing has to get to Africa. It has to go to South America. It has to be distributed in the U.S. It has to be distributed in Asia. It's like, how do you do that? And then how do you do that when there's a global lockdown? And so we then went on and won some awards and all those things. And as you can see, was somewhat of a company pivot. But that's like the serendipity that really helped us springboard forward. And now, our goals are really around what we like to think as the circular economy. So supply chains used to be previously what we thought of as linear, right? Meaning that I have some product, it gets to some end destination site, maybe you just throw it in the trash, maybe it ends up at a landfill, or who cares if it gets recycled or not. The problem with that, right, is that the ends don't justify the means. Those beginning steps weren't accounting for the end destination. And so what we think of now are these circular economies where each step in the supply chain, we're accounting for emissions, we're accounting for the waste generated, to really truly understand if these systems are just energetically favorable at certain steps. Sometimes with like renewable energy, this comes up a lot where, okay, you're able to save X emissions at the end, but I had to use this really energy intensive process, right, in the beginning to split atoms or split molecules. A lot of this happens with like renewable hydrogen. Is really energy intensive in the beginning steps. And so more and more for us, it's how can we think about supply chains and better supply chains, and how can we begin to create more circular ideas? And I would say that, some of that curiosity kind of sparked from the swoosh. Again, my whole life is taking my experiences in the environments and the places that I've been. At that time, the swoosh, Nike, which headquartered, shout out to them, headquartered in Beaverton, they were looking at what we call total life cycle analysis, right? And they were really curious and interested in this idea around circular economies with their sneakers, and really posing this question of how does an end of life sneaker, how can you take that material and actually put it back in the supply chain, and that now becomes the origin point for the next generation of shoe. And we really took that idea and that principle, and we went far with it with our own business, and that's what got us really into the circular economy and supply chain space that we're in today, and really with our grand vision of being able to, get to net zero waste because our planet needs it. And we thankfully our government and legislation are starting to see that, where we just from the EPA, there are now new mandates for scope 3 emissions, right? So scope 1 and 2 emissions are emissions that happen inside of my organization, meaning direct processes that my organization or infrastructure are creating in terms of emissions. And now there's new federal mandates for scope 3 emissions, which are the emissions, right, that happen outside of my organization, but still fall under the product that I may be producing. And so this is another, I think, step in the right direction to get us, towards our ultimate goals. I'm Brantley Fulton. I'm CEO at Lamar. We trace products so you don't have to.
Thank you so much. We started our program today half an hour late because we were waiting for you all to come through with the fog. And so we have time for 2 questions for Brentley, and you can talk to Brentley afterwards if you don't get to ask your question. We will have a very brief break after the questions, and then we'll jump right into our panel. Okay? So that's the plan because of our delay. So who has a question for Brentley? Questions?
Thank you. You spoke about a circular economy, circular processes, and products, and you're a chemist. And one of the things that we see in attempting circular use of products is the degradation particularly of plastics, to the point where it can't be really repurposed well. Are you seeing much progress in that regard? So are we getting closer to infinitely or nearly infinitely recyclable, reusable materials?
Yeah, that's a great question in terms of reusable materials. I would say the short answer is yes, and I'll two examples in which we ourselves work on. One, that device that I pass around, it actually is made from a 3D printed enclosure, and that enclosure uses a material TPU. And some of you in the audience probably have TPU on you or in front of you and don't even know it. We most commonly come across it. It's like the case like for your cell phone. So it's kind of sticky and gummy, but also rigid. But it's more environmentally sustainable than traditional plastics that we encounter, like the plastics, for instance, like in a water bottle. So that's kind of one way, is this move towards 3D printing and additive manufacturing. Can we use kind of less toxic or more plastic-free materials through 3D printing process? And with those, with additive manufacturing or 3D printing, we can then reduce costs over time. The other, and some technology that we're working on that we have brewing in R&D, is we are moving to what we like to call, these flexible electronic sensors. So they literally are flexible tags that are almost like stickers. You can roll it up like a yoga mat, and it uses less toxic metals than like traditional heavy metals like lithium, cadmium. We've been able to include much softer metals like zinc, which are non-invasive to the marine ecosystem, for instance. And so there has been a push for more disposable and or biodegradable sensor tags that I do think can help us kind of get to this answer.
Hi. Thank you. Just one more question from me. I was really interested in what you had to say around food and food supply chains. My question is about what you can track and what insights you can gain from your tracking in situations, for example, like food waste, turning food waste into biorecycling. So from tracking what goes where, for example, what goes to landfill when it shouldn't versus what goes to green bin, etc., can your tracking of those types of very kind of home-based activities lead to community practice insights or individual behavior insights to help us really understand what's working and what we need to do more of that's good? Thank you.
Yes, that's a great question. I would say the short answer is yes. Our current tag, that what we consider to be our flagship, it mostly has temperature, humidity, shock tracking, as well as geolocation. But one of the things I think that we can do and that we think about, for instance, are crops that are in season or out of season. So if you see this, if you see these high spoilages, let's say for products that are very temperature sensitive and it's the middle of the summer, are there additional ways that these products could be, produced in different seasons where they can be kept fresher, or could they go through other sites or cities that might be able to keep them protected, as opposed to the regions where they might go over temperature or outside of range. So I think from that collection of data, we definitely can begin creating models there, and then I think you get to become site specific of, oh, there's an influx of these set of food products here, there's a deficit there, and then you're easier able to target and streamline them from one place to the next.
All right, thank you so much. Another round of applause for Brentley. Thank you so much, Brentley. This was great. So we're gonna break for 5 minutes. There's still some refreshments outside. The restrooms, you can find them right outside. So as you come out from where you registered, the restrooms are right across. And let's meet again here in 5 minutes for the panel, please. Thank you.
Joe, when the screen comes out, I need you where you want to place them at. The two monitors. Yeah, so.
It's all Colleen.
Where we're gonna put this. I don't know if it's gonna be in the way right here. But, so, Joe, right here? How's this?
Okay, I got you.
the tape. There might be some tape back here. We gotta tape those down.
Yeah, the only problem is that I'd like 5% presentation every time I have to go back over there. No, I'll be here. If I have so much to do, I can do it. You don't have to. Okay, I know. If you show me what I need to do, I can.
Yes, and let's get your image out. You should be able to see it there.
Yes.
You're good right there.
So,
We're gonna start your presentation. Slideshow.
before you do that, so it should be showing. Mato, can you see
The different slot displays.
showing my desktop now? Mato, it needs to be facing that way. Okay. Yes. You met Tanya? Oh my God. Oh, hi, Tanya. Nice to meet you. We're trying to figure out the slide situation here.
So there's a different.
Or we put it in a. We're missing one of them, which if you download that, it needs to happen in your email. The rest we already have loaded on your desktop. Oh, okay. We were missing one of them. You can start it if you want, for sure. Yeah. No. Which I emailed him, he has it as an email, but they also suggested if I could get it. Oh, so maybe you should download this, and we don't have it. Right. That one. So we have. So. Not that one. There's two attachments, and you don't clean out. But I had already downloaded that. I know I we have copies. That's why I think it's so busy. But that one is. So that one is there. Well, let's look. No,
It's on here, but I don't know how you go start your slide.
No, that's when we were gonna use this and then this and that. But where's that presentation? That one is on the desktop. So if you go to the desktop first. So see, we have, I wanted to have them in order. I wanted, so that's mine, so that's there. Yes, and then when you tell me. That's why I wanted. I don't know what it looks like, but it's like easier to tell me. And then following.
Okay. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. I have an announcement to make. A necklace was found in the ladies' room. So if you're missing your necklace, we have it at the front desk at the registration table. So necklace was lost and found. Please find your seats. And if you are one of our wonderful panelists, please come to the stage. Panelists, please find your way to the stage. Everyone, please have a seat. Thank you so much. Hold on. What is it saying there? Yeah, what does it say on that screen? Everything's organized for me. That's cool. Oh my gosh, what did that do? I guess I should introduce the moderator. 12:30, probably, because it started a half an hour late. I think you could leave us. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. All right, everyone. Hello, hello. Can you hear this one? It's just really low. Okay, I want to take a minute to thank Leo Calderon for the amazing magic trick he just did by changing the stage completely, putting new monitors on. Leo, where are you? Can someone please initiate a round of applause for Leo Calderon, our tech or AV person working extra hard here? All right, so I have now the pleasure of introducing our moderator. Dr. Tanya Anders is the Academic Senate President and former Sustainability Coordinator at Mount San Antonio College. She's a professor of geology and oceanography and has been serving students in higher education for nearly 25 years, beginning her journey at Texas A&M University Corpus Christi before moving to California Community College System 10 years ago. Dr. Anders is a marine geoscientist, and as such, she first started as a researcher and an educator, and she shares her passion for our planet's past, its climate, and human impacts. At Mount SAC, Tanya has taken on leadership roles in sustainability and the Academic Senate, and as the campus' first sustainability coordinator, she helped guide her campus as it took its first steps towards formal infusion of sustainability into curriculum. For example, she has done that through regularly offered faculty professional development, sustainability designation for courses in the schedule of classes, and other faculty-related work. With her team, she supports student internships and events on campus and beyond, engaging the entire campus community whenever possible. Off campus, Tanya is excited to collaborate with folks from across the region, including our new BCAP program. Who's BCAP here in the house? We have some BCAP people here. That's the Blue Economy Climate Action Pathways Project. And also the EO projects, which is the Climate and Equity in Environmental Education, a district-wide program. Who's here from that program? Yay, there's Beth right there. I know there are many of you. Thank you so much for being involved in these projects and for being here. At the state level, she is a member of the ASCCC. She's in the state senate, and she supports sustainability and climate education goals at the state level as well. As academic senate president and as faculty professional development coordinator, Tanya and her team work to bring sustainability into senate committees and the campus as a whole. Sustainability is now infused into the college's mission and vision statements, as well as the college's core value and strategic priorities. Witnessing increased awareness of all three pillars of sustainability on her campus has been incredibly gratifying for Tanya. So please, round of applause for Dr. Tanya Anders, our moderator.
Thank you so much, Joe, for the introduction. I'm sorry she read my whole bio. I thought it was just going to be posted, but we're almost halfway through our time here. Again, my name is Tanya Anders, and I'm really, really excited to share the stage with a phenomenal group of panelists here. I'm very excited. Because of time, I'm not going to read everyone's bio to you as they speak. I hope it will become obvious the amazing work that they do. And they are, of course, welcome to introduce themselves. I just have quick slides to introduce the team up here. We are hoping to have kind of like lightning presentations of around 5 minutes for everyone. And then we'll probably just jump right into the Q&A with all of you because I know you will have burning questions after these presentations and the work that they do. So we can, I'll give you, if this works for me. Nope. Yeah, why don't you advance? Thank you. So the first of our panelists that you're going to be hearing from is Kelly Lee, and she's the executive director of the UC CSU Environmental and Climate Change Literacy Projects, and she'll tell you more about herself when it's her turn. Secondly, so I'm just giving you the highlights here already so you could be excited. We'll have Andrew Rodriguez, who is a current student here at West LA College and a math major, and he is also a student worker here at the Climate Center. Then we will hear from Margaret Toe, who's a designer, filmmaker, and co-founder of Studio Saka. And then Thomas Yount, founder of Clean Earth Future, a game studio dedicated to climate literacy and environmental justice. He will also have a breakout later. So he'll give you a quick snapshot here, and then you can learn more later. And then Shannon Halloway, the founder and principal of Halloway R&D, a human-centered research and design firm in Long Beach, will talk to you and round out the show. So I'm going to turn it over right away to our first presenter, which is Kelly. So we're going to pull up her slides and get to that. Oh, you have your own mic. Perfect. You can also use this one.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Could you just give me a thumbs up if you can hear us? Okay. So thank you so much for having me today. And just really briefly, I wanted to talk about, in terms of communications and effective communications, how we take on climate change education and literacy to activate student agency with courage, because it's so needed. So ECLIPSE stands for the Environmental and Climate Change Literacy Projects. It's the first initiative of its kind to unite every four-year public university across one state So that's 33 college campuses, every CSU, every UC together, along with a vast network of community partners like WLAC to work with PK-12 school districts to advance climate, environmental literacy, justice, and action. Because we know that learning for learning's sake is just not enough today. How do we do this in a way that is meaningful for our communities and to support students to taking meaningful action? So the first thing I wanted to share about is how education needs to be repositioned as a catalyst for climate action. I love that Dr. Fulton spoke earlier. I taught high school chemistry, nanoscience, and earth science in inner city LA. I'm also from LA as well, so I'm a native first generation scholar myself. And when I think about education today, the question is education serving the purposes and solving the issues of today? Right? As the tools and technology continue to advance, are we using that to our advantage to support students to having multiple opportunities to pursue green careers, to have, again, all opportunities to succeed? So when we think about education as a catalyst, I love that Dr. Fulton was talking about the supply chain, right? He said 40% of the commerce goods go through the port of LA and the port of Long Beach, and my brain immediately goes to, I wonder what the well-being and the health of the students and the community members are in those areas, right? Because I live in Los Angeles, so the first thing I'm thinking of is, are the students in those communities aware? Do they know how to advocate for their rights? Are they learning this in school, or do they have to go outside of school to get this information? Is there a safe place for students to actually learn about climate and environmental issues, such as air pollution, soil quality, access to clean water? This is a very real issue that our students again, care deeply about, and they deserve to learn the science about. So in our work here today, just to share a small component, we released 6 key paradigm shifts that we encourage all educators across PK-16 to consider as they think about teaching climate and environmental literacy, again, for activating agency. And I won't share the key shifts just now because we don't have a lot of time, but I wanted to point out the 7 design components for educators in the room. So it's small font, so I'll read it out loud, but the first one is, how do you activate agency, right? Just because you teach a subject doesn't mean that a student is going to want to go out there and do something about it. Sometimes, right, there's other pedagogical shifts that need to happen in order for that catalyst to emerge. The second one is focusing on how interdisciplinary in nature this topic is. It is not just a science topic. Right? We also have to think about mental health. We have to think about different ways to lean in, thinking about arts, physical education. There's just so much in terms of how we can integrate together to support students to have a stronger approach and thinking about climate education. Transdisciplinary just refers to the fact that beyond schools, it's not a school problem. This is something that our community members, our community-based partners, higher education, research faculty, staff, PK-12 school districts, pretty much everybody who's affected, which is everybody to different degrees, can participate in different levels. So can a school district work with their local community-based partners, local higher education researchers, et cetera, to advance and create a meaningful solution to a problem in their own community related to climate and the environment? So again, transdisciplinary just meaning multiple sectors involved. Intersectional, we cannot forget that 4 and 5 are very similar, right? Centers equity and justice and how intersectional it is. We cannot forget the racial and social and so on and so forth, inequities that also touch upon climate injustice and justice issues. And so when we think about, the air quality that I mentioned, if we only talked about the supply chain issue, we are negating the very fact that it affects very real people right now, right? And so when they're in schools and they're learning about atomic theory, which was something I had to teach, how do you support a teacher to talking about atomic theory or math equations and then sending them out into the real world in which they're breathing in bad air quality every day and not knowing how to advocate for themselves? Does it have to be separate, or are there ways that we can have them intertwined, right? So honoring historic, community, and indigenous knowledge. California history is indigenous history, right? And I'm sure there's many on this panel as well that can speak more in depth to that. But what we're saying here is that we can't have a social science approach and an interdisciplinary approach when we aren't honoring those that have come before and are currently stewarding the land and advocating today. And then lastly, cultivating 21st century. When we teach you, are we giving you the skills needed to actually thrive in a changing world? And then we're gonna wrap it up here. But I just wanted to share that the second edition of the resources that are coming out, so we have Teaching Climate Change, that's my field of expertise, right? Activating our science teachers to take on the climate crisis. I love that Dr. Fulton started with, who am I? And what I'll add to that is our work here is we also ask, what do I believe? And what informs my decision making? Because who am I coupled with, do I believe in environmental justice in education is just as essential, because otherwise what you choose to omit is just as important as what you choose to include, right? So again, thank you so much for your time today.
So thank you so much. I just want to remind everyone we're going to hold the questions for the end. And so I think it's very fitting that we have a student following after this wonderful introduction to the work we do.
I'm going to stand up because I'm the cool presenter and because I don't have any slides. Margaret, I'm using your slides. Yeah, those are me. I got a haircut. So my name is Andrew Rodriguez. I'm a student here at West Los Angeles College. I'm a first-generation college student and a second-generation American, if you guys know what that means. If not, I can explain it afterward. But essentially, what I like to do a lot, my passion is mathematics, but also education. More so education. Math is also fun, but education is like way more fun. I love talking to the youth and teaching them things about their personal life as well as like the academic life, right? So I do a lot of tutoring. Do you know what Upward Bound is, anyone? So I also work at Upward Bound, 2 jobs. So I love talking to these students who come from lower socioeconomic statuses and kind of educating them on how exactly what Dr. Lee, sorry, this is my boss over the summer. So I was just about to use her first name, and I was like, oh, I shouldn't do that. So yeah, so talking to these, that kind of interdisciplinary and intersectionality with climate change, right? Whenever I teach students about residential redlining and how that led to the construction of freeways and how that led to increased asthma of people of color in Los Angeles, they're always like, what? I'm like, yeah, I know, it's crazy. It's absolutely insane. So that's why I kind of love getting out there and talking to the youth, right? Connecting them with what their community and how their community is effective is so important. And the reason why I think it's so important is I think that's how we truly battle this climate crisis we're having. If we can educate every single youth on how to be better within the climate sphere and how to tackle the climate crisis, then they will become adults and then they can lead the world to a better future. That's my passion, that's my dream. That's why I work with the California Center for Climate Change Education. Yep. Bet you didn't know the full name. Because I love working with the youth and getting them to where they want to be. So this is kind of what I do. And I love seeing everyone here. I've worked with a lot of you. I've worked with, Eclipse and Lacey. I know Lacey's here. I've been to your guys' campus, awesome campus. I think I saw Lamar here too, the company Lamar. Yeah, so I'm really involved with this. If you have any students have any questions, I'm really well versed in going through community college system, going to a 4-year, graduating high school, APs, prom. So any questions, I'm welcome to them all. I'm a friendly guy, usually. So.
Thank you very much, and I'm going to turn it over to our next presenter.
Thank you so much, and thank you again, Joe, for inviting me to this. Yeah, so just a quick background. My background is in design and film, and I've always channeled that into my passion, which is also in sustainability. So next slide. I co-founded Studio Saka back in 2021, where I'm able to really try to work through channeling that creativity into film and animation and using that storytelling as a force for good. So a little bit about Studio Saka. We are a creative studio dedicated to social impact and environmental education. We've worked with clients such as UCLA, TED Ed, Center for Food Safety, and really help them with their communication. Because design and video, they're such powerful tools to help them visualize more complex issues So that's what we try to do. Some projects that we've done in the past, I'll just take the UCLA project as an example. So UCLA was developing some video content for high school students. So topics range from environmental justice to habitat restoration. So we developed 3 to 5 minute videos along with a lesson plan so students can learn more about these topics. A project that I get to work on this year is with Scope, and this is an educational guide to building decarbonization. So there's some pretty complex topics like green jobs or home improvement or retrofitting and renters' rights. So how do we really help visualize that and make it just easy to understand and also just fun to learn about? So we got to work on this educational guide. Also wanted to talk about climate designers. This has been a community that really supported and made me feel confident that I could pursue this in the creative space, but really have a focus in climate. So Climate Designers is a global hub of creatives and design professionals who wanted to take climate action. So I am the chapter co-lead at LA chapter along with Rachel. So if anyone has questions about Climate Designers, LA chapter, we host virtual and in-person events as well. Yeah. And then some of the community projects that came out from Climate Designers include the Urban Farmers Almanac. I have a printed copy here, so if anyone wants to check it out later, we have it here. But also we also have a digital copy that's for free forever online. And what it is a sustainable guide for any LA residents who want to make that sustainable alternative. So whether it's through your diet or through transportation or even in your bathroom, how do you live more sustainably? There's different entryways, so there are different chapters that talk about that, and there's just more visuals there. And the Almanac was just recently featured on Subject on Climate, which is a platform and a hub where educators can go on there and connect. And I think it's educators from all different grade levels and different subjects on how to teach about climate change. So this resource is also available on Subject to Climate for anyone who, there's a lot of educators here today, so this would be maybe a helpful resource. And then lastly, this project that we're working on and where we'll have a workshop later on today, From Soil to Soul, is a documentary series about food justice, food sovereignty. We have an 8-episode series planned out, but what we're showcasing today is a pilot episode. So really wanted to dive into food justice in LA specifically, so that's what the pilot episode is about. And yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. I know because there are a lot of educators in the room, their heads are probably already spinning, and how can I use all of these amazing resources provided here? So I'm going to move us on to the next speaker, who I think all of our students in the room will be excited about hearing his work.
Thank you so much, and thank you again, Joe, for having us all. This is such an awesome opportunity. Hello, everyone. My name is Thomas Yount, and I am the founder of the game studio Clean Earth Future, and the game Climate Cooldown. It's a physical board game, old school style. All right, next slide, please. All right, so a little bit about the game. So back when 2020 began, I really wanted to create a way for us to model doing the things that we're doing, or we're trying to do right now, to help solve the climate crisis in a game. And so I looked and I didn't see anything like it online, so I decided, why don't I just start creating it? So after 3.5 years of development, I was able to create the game Climate Cooldown, and I've already started bringing it to schools. elementary, middle school, high school, and some colleges. I haven't been in person with the college classrooms, but I have with the others, and it's been a really awesome experience. Something else I wanted to do was to have a way for people to discover what academic pathways and job career pathways that exist for all topics of the game. So there are 72 unique cards in the game, which all have pathways that are available online, and I'm gonna show more about that in a second. So here's an image in, shout out, by the way, to Studio Saka. Thank you for helping with taking the photographs in the class. So we played this game in the classroom, and what I had the students do was also have their computers by their side and be able to have the resource of this pathways module. It's just learn.climatecooldown.com. But what they can do then is if they're interested in a subject, they can actually just look right into it, learn more about it, and there's also critical thinking prompts for each of these subjects as well for different grade levels. So let's take a look. Here's what it looks like online. There's a search bar up above, but you can click on any of these. Let's imagine we clicked on Seaforestation, which is a cooldown card or a climate solution in the game. So if we click on that card, it takes us to something like this, where you see a description of what seaforestation is, about how it applies in the game, in case you're wondering, and prospective degrees like marine biology, and also careers like marine reforestation specialist. So below that, you can see there's tabs for elementary, middle, high, and advanced. So this is a really great resource for teachers to use because they can have any of these subjects in the game, all 72, with different prompts for different levels. So if we move on. So I actually recently had an article in the LA Times come out, and just a little snippet from it. One of the teacher's senior students said the assignment inspired him to explore taking classes on aquaculture at Santa Monica College. So that really warmed my heart to know that this is actually working, right? This is we're able to inspire one another through games and have the opportunity to learn what we might be passionate about, how we can get involved. So I did a presentation not long ago about turning games into real-life strategies for change, climate literacy to civic action. This is a representation of that. You can see this card reforestation in the game and a picture of people actually reforesting. Next slide, please. Something I want to draw from here is, despite the dimensions of the environmental crisis, students can approach this frightening content in ways that are lively and playful. It is possible. We can do this. My proposition is that through educational gameplay with game-based learning, we really should consider this as a means to combat the mental shackles of what I call doom bias, or some others have called climate doomerism, to reimagine our future modeled in a new way that we can create together. And also, I want to mention how cooperative gameplay in this game, Climate Cooldown, provides an easy platform for social emotional learning, building character, agency, self-efficacy through problem-based learning and project-based learning through the extension with the Pathways module, and critical thinking with available solutions that we can put into real-life practice. So here's an example of one of the worksheets I have. This is a UN Sustainable Development Goals worksheet that goes along with the game. It's optional, but I have a lot of other resources, including this, transdisciplinary worksheets for art class, for language arts, social studies, and I'm currently in partnership with a school and working on one for diplomacy and political science. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Thomas. And our final speaker, and then we will turn to the Q&A, is going to be Shannon.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Tanya, Joe, and Colleen from Lacey. I really appreciate being here. It's been really inspiring to hear the keynotes and the panel. Really thankful for your presence. So I'm Shannon. I'm the founder and principal of Holloway R&D, an innovation consulting firm in Long Beach. I'm a user experience expert, so this is a field that combines research and design to make goods more user-friendly. So as Dr. Fulton was talking about thinking through the world in a material science lens and a molecule level, I think about the objects in our world as designed by people and whether they serve the needs of the people that interact with them. So I've spent 20 years working in various forms of design for innovation solutions, but the last 10 years has been dedicated to emerging technology. And so a lot of that has been in AI. And so that's a lot of what the work I do today and where that intersects with climate. So it's really exciting to be at that space. My career path was very not straightforward. And so, when I zoom out, as Professor Oliva was talking about earlier, zooming out and zooming in to engage with community, I feel like that's a lot of my own journey. So I started in art, I transitioned into finance, then I went into technology, and then now I'm bringing all of those crafts together in a new way and in my own entrepreneurial journey and supporting other entrepreneurs and career changers in their own journeys as well. So my firm has two different sort of service offerings. So one is executive advisory services, so that's working directly with early stage startups. And then the other side is hands-on upskilling workshops. So folks who need to have accelerated learning in the workplace setting on AI and human-centered design. And through my journey with my company, I began a partnership with LACY, the LA Clean Tech Incubator, that's been really transformative for me. And so being part of the Founders Business Accelerator, I was able to really learn how I can not only expand my climate impact, but also my community impact through my firm. And in those discussions came some of what I have here, mostly context, and I could go in a little bit of a case study of the work that in collaboration with LACY. But as we all know, AI is being adopted across almost every industry, and it's happening rapidly. And so if you don't think of yourself directly working with AI today, you probably are. You may not even know it, right? Did you rely on an automated tool to help you get here? Did you navigate, or did you look at an atlas? Did you chart it ahead of time, right? So there's decisions that we make every single day that we're relying on automated tools, and this is just happening in every domain of life. And so this is transforming our nature of work very rapidly as well. So almost every business plans to adopt AI in the next several years, and will realize gains in productivity and efficiency because of that adoption. And the promise is that workers that skill in AI not only will have the ability to future-proof their career with AI skills, but also see increases in the paychecks that they can gain with expertise. So currently, we just have a pacing issue, right? As we were talking about a little earlier, of the rate of adoption is outpacing the rate of employee upskilling in the workforce. So the work that is happening here is directly closing those gaps that we have right now in industry. So it's really exciting to hear how that is being done, as Dr. Lee was talking about, in this very transdisciplinary way and activating students early. So the gaps in literacy, working with LACY, we partnered with them to introduce accelerated AI learning to the Green Jobs Fellows. So these are people who come from underrepresented backgrounds, who are underemployed or unemployed LA County residents, 18 and over. But most of them aren't just straight out of school. They have had other careers. They've been underemployed or unemployed, right? So it's a transition. And so getting these folks not only trained in new, well-paying and future-proof green jobs is important, but then also layering in, an additional component of AI literacy has been really impactful for this group, and really exciting to continue this work in collaboration with LACY. So if this is something interested you, as I mentioned, these are the two service sides of the service offerings of my firm, to build, upskill your team quickly in AI and human-centered design. And hopefully we can reimagine intelligence with humans at the center. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's give another big round of applause for all these amazing creative innovators. So we're trying to help catch up with time here since we are standing between lunch and the next sessions for you. So we do want to make sure that we get to answering some of the questions that you may have. So let's get right to it. Are there questions for any of the panelists?
Hello, hello. Hello. I can probably name most of you. Here's Greg Apodaca.
Hi there. Can you hear this? Okay, so so the last speaker talked about reimagining intelligence. I just came back from the UN Summit on Interdevelopment Goals, which is that a couple of years ago the UN decided we aren't doing what we know we need to do to save the planet for humanity. We need to transform ourselves personally and in teams and across society. So I just wondered if you knew about that, or what do you think about that? Would you be willing to work with us on how to implement that across Los Angeles?
I'm going to pass this one around again because this one we know works.
Okay. Thank you for the question. So what I gathered was how AI is working with the Sustainable Development Goals, right?
How can we transform ourselves? Because the UN says we need to transform our mindsets and our actions to achieve the monumental goals that we have to have.
Yeah, and it's a huge challenge, and one that I think we are already addressing adaptively and creatively as humans, right? Collectively in our own ways. Only 2 years ago, ChatGPT was released to the public, and everybody speaks and knows that name, right? As soon as it came out, everybody was like, AI. The world of work is catching up to this pace now. So working today requires this level of innovation and a new way of working that there's imperfect data always. There's no precedent to what you're doing. So you're pioneering all the time. You're innovating all the time. And so it's a difficult space, but I think that's what I enjoy about innovation work the most, and why having an art background for me leverages well in this kind of way of working, that a blank canvas is not intimidating to somebody like me. But if you come from different ways of working, right, it's a big shift to suddenly be like, oh, well, we're going to throw this whole body of knowledge. No, we're not throwing the body of knowledge out anymore, right? Instead, everybody has access to every body of knowledge at their fingertips, right? So it's just a different way of working, and we all are finding our way to leverage that and work with it. So I don't think there's any right or wrong in this moment, right? It's a Wild West, and it's not necessarily one that everybody likes, right? Some regulation and other sort of guardrails would be ideal, right? But we're in this moment of just having to innovate and move forward, knowing that we don't have all the answers, but we can confidently move forward towards our goals. So that's where the SDG goals come in to be.
I also just wanted to mention, I think the two things you just talked about, the SDGs and AI, those require education to the public, in the mass public. Because although we feel that it's at everybody's fingertips, we found out very quickly through COVID that even basic internet wasn't available to all students, right? And so how do we leverage education and we use it as a catalyst then to providing that type of knowledge to spur solutions? Because our teachers, even, I know you mentioned 2 years, right, with ChatGPT, some teachers are barely playing with it right now with a lot of hesitancy. And we're also finding that there are issues when students kind of just take it on without any guidance as well. There are things that we need to work out and safe spaces we need to provide as well. So I just wanted to mention, I think education has a really big role to catalyzing that, but also supporting students for future opportunities.
I think there's a question in the back.
Yes. Hello, hello. Yes, I was so interested in the first presentation when you gave us 7 sources. I think you said 7. I missed one of them. Can you just go over them real quick? And then I have a question for Thomas. with the
Yeah, so there are 6 key paradigm shifts, but then there are 7 lesson design components.
Yes.
So, Joe, is it possible for us to share this presentation with everybody after too, so they're not having to like write everything down? But
Yeah, I was writing it down because it's, there's such valuable information.
thank you.
Do we have PowerPoints that you're going to give us as a
Yes, Joe has all the resources, but real quick, activating agency, interdisciplinarity, transdisciplinarity, and then intersectionality, centers equity and justice, honors historic community and indigenous knowledge, and lastly, cultivates 21st century skills.
wonderful? So
Thank you for that
one of them was racial and social equality.
Yeah, centers equity and justice. Yes. Thank you.
And then for Thomas, the question I had was, we talked about the wonderful cards that you created for the pathways and that you're focused on the teaching the children. Do you have the teacher training programs that could help, us in the classroom when we want to do the game with our college students or, because I train teachers of young children. I would be curious to have the training in this game for all my faculty.
Thank you for the question. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. So I have materials for teachers specifically in a lot of different scenarios. So I offer professional development to train teachers how to play the game, how to teach the game using all the supplementary materials, and also some psychological elements that are important because I've played with so many people that I know kind of like how people respond to the game, and if they get stuck, I have a specific guide for why we might get stuck playing the game and how to strategize and win together.
And may I add that we are in conversation with Thomas to offer that as a workshop, if not this year, sometime in early spring. So this is something that we are discussing and having workshops for students and for the training the trainer.
And Thomas does have a breakout session later
Yes,
as well.
yes, and Thomas has a workshop this afternoon as well. Yes, I know. And this is not even the full list of people that we had originally wanted to invite. So it just means, come again. Next year, we're going to have it again. We have many events, so we'll keep doing this.
I definitely appreciated that question because I know there are a lot of educators in the room. And as I was preparing with the panelists, I said to Thomas right away, yeah, you need to come to my campus so that we can have something for our faculty. So I think you're going to become a busy man. Is there another question? Yes.
Yes, I'm Jeannie Lewis. I'm a career development professional, among other things, a climate activist. I'm interested I work with youth and am interested in advising people as to what skills they need to develop now for the future in the workforce. And I was wondering if any of the panelists could talk a little bit about how we can educate and help prepare young people.
Hello. Yeah, again, I said it in my little spiel, but I work at a lot of high schools and I work with a lot of high schoolers. And kind of the common problem I see amongst high schoolers, very solvable, is that they have a resistance to trying and failing. And like kind of like getting out of their comfort zone to attempt something. And this really connects with the climate crisis too, because right, like when they feel like they can never learn about it, I'll tell them like, oh, have you researched it? Oh, there's too much to research. I'm like, well, have you tried? No. I'm like, okay, well then, what are you talking about? So I really encourage all of my students that I work with personally to try by themselves, right? I say, I'm gonna give you zero guidance. I want you to try, fail, and tell me what you thought it was initially. I mean, I also do that with the climate crisis, right? Like, the heat wave, okay, think of a solution. Oh, but where do I start? Exactly, think of where to start. And I think that kind of attempt in trying to get to a solution, and whatever path you take, you'll learn along the way. Again, I'm a math major, I love math, and what I would do constantly learning math is I would just have a big whiteboard, and I was like, well, I don't know how to solve this, and I would just work for an hour, okay, that was wrong, do it again. But on that way, I learned so many things about different problems, right? And that's really connected with this intersectionality, right? If you try to solve one issue, you realize, wait, I can apply this attempted solution to different solutions. And I think that's a really important thing, again, and it's all centered around just trying and failing, which is like, I know everyone says, you learn more when you fail, but you really do. You really do. And it's really important to try and fail. So I always make them do it by themselves.
And I'll maybe add also that, you know, it's really important for all of us to talk to industry partners and to ask them, like, what are the skills? We know all about the soft skills, but get updated all the time. And so we need to have advisory boards. Those of us that are educators, we need to know what, and everything is moving so fast that it really requires frequent collaboration, I think is one of the strategies we definitely need to use. And I'm going to give another 1 or 2 minutes here because I do know that we want to wrap it up.
Anyone has any questions for?
I just also wanted to add, I think it's really essential to teach students complex critical thinking skills because working with faculty and staff pretty much statewide and nationally, the one thing I keep hearing is that they feel that the solutions provided now are too simplistic. Oh, just recycle, then we're good. Just plant a bunch of trees, then we're good. Just switch to electric, then we're good. Everybody should install solar, then we're good. But if it's not that simple and that solution doesn't work for every single community. So we need culturally relevant responses. And I think that our students are well equipped to think of those responses if we give them those opportunities. We know that 1 in 5 students in California today do not learn about climate change outside of social media, which is filled with misinformation, right? So making it complex and letting them know that this is a solution in which we all have answers to is essential, because I think that speaks to the lack of potentially trying because of failure. You can't fail for something that we're all trying to figure out together, and we're saying that your solutions are valid for your community. Who knows your community best? You do, right? And so I think it's essential to reposition power dynamics in a classroom so that we acknowledge students' funds of knowledge as they come in, but then also uplift and amplify what they're saying is meaningful to them. And so 1.5 degrees, that's what everybody keeps saying, but I just want to reiterate, it's not like we hit 1.5 degrees and it's the end of the world. Every degree is worth fighting for. Every solution matters at this point.
Yeah, just to add to this great question and discussion, I think in the workplace today, we're seeing more demand for that combination of soft and hard skills, and also the resilience, right, to problem solve on your own. This is being talked about as being entrepreneurial, even no matter what kind of job you are in. And I think that that's really the mark of what jobs are becoming, right? When you have technology making it so you can be more distributed, you can work from different places, you can work with different organizations, you could be part-time in different places, right? All of it's changing, but it's gonna require more as an individual worker to continue to be resilient among all of that change, and to adapt with the market, and to know that from a business standpoint, if you have a world where you can have a computer or a human solve a problem, and depending on how big and high value that problem is, maybe it would be worth a lot of money, right? That's kind of the nature of the business question and how talent is being seen currently. So it's less about sort of this, you know, I think there's still a need to have a discipline and a craft that you can then apply to a domain. And so that's where education is still really important, but that way of working is adapting. And so all of those qualities are definitely relevant to sustain a career.
So all of our panelists are going to be around for lunch, I assume. So please seek them out if you have further questions, because we do want to help catch up on the time a little bit. I'm going to turn it over to Joe.
Thank you so much. Yes, please, a round of applause for our moderator and our panelists. This was fantastic. I also want to reinforce that both Thomas and Margaret will have workshops this afternoon being offered. And so if you have your programs with you, during lunchtime, we're going to be walking around. The people in the blue shirts will be walking around, and you can choose which workshop you want to attend in the afternoon after lunch. So you can tell them, and they can help you figure out what room you need to go to. Yes, we are running a little bit late, and we're going to have to innovate here a little bit in terms of, you know, starting times, but we reserved enough time in the afternoon that I'm hoping you all going to have a real good time. So the workshops will be in the classrooms
There's one building called MSA, which is just down this walkway called the Wildcat Walkway. And the other workshops will be in a building called General Classrooms, or GC. And so our volunteers will be helping you to find your way in the afternoon. The students who are here, I want a big shout out again to the students from La Jolla, Green Dot, and also Venice, correct? You're here. Thank you so much for being here. We know that you're not going to be able to stay up for the afternoon panels, but we want to make sure that you know that this is your home too. This is a college that you can always come to whenever you want to learn more, whenever you want to find support for your ideas and your projects. We're here for you. Thank you so much for being here. And I also want to ask everyone else to let them be served first at the buffet. I want you to give them priority because they have to hop in a bus at a very specific time. So with that, I'm going to close the morning session. We don't have to regroup here. So after the afternoon workshops are over, you're welcome to leave directly from your classrooms. And I want to then take this minute to thank you all again for being here. And if you can come back tomorrow, we're going to be at the graduation lawn celebrating community. Thank you so much.